Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the AllStar app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in descriptions. The title fight coming up in the weight division, the middleweight division, Israel versus Pereira. Man, you mentioned Pereira being like 230, 235, and then cutting down and man, do you think that's going to have an effect on the type of performance he needs to have against Israel to win?
I mean, maybe. I don't really know the weight class that he fought at like in kickboxing, but I would assume it's gonna take a toll with 5 rounds. Like I'm sure the longer it goes, the more a favor to play in Izzy's, favor. Um, but I don't know. I mean, he obviously is confident in his ability to go out there and beat Izzy and finish him. I think it looks bad on MMA if he does go out there and beat him, but that's just me. Uh, but I don't think Israel has the tools to go in there and take him down and control him on the ground. But the guy's 230 pounds. Like it's crazy to think that you can go out there and just control a man that's that big. I mean, I myself, who was a jiu-jitsu black belt, I don't think I could control him for that long. You know what I mean? Like in the first 2 rounds, you have to hang on him and make him tired. But those last 3 rounds, I'm sure I could handle him very well.
Another aspect of the fight is that, he holds a win over him. He holds 2 wins over him, and one is
Yeah.
by knockout. The psychological effects of facing somebody that has knocked you out, like clean, right? Like
Yeah.
he's knocked out. Like, do you feel like that is a huge advantage? And maybe it could be something that could be detrimental to Israel because he's so focused on revenge.
Yeah, I think it can be a bad thing and a good thing. I think it depends on your mental as far as it goes. Like obviously, like you lost the fight and it was years ago and whatnot, but you have to look at now like how much better he's gotten and how much better they've kind of both gotten. But I think Adesanya has really jumped leaps and bounds above what Pereira is, uh, as far as like MMA wise. Um, it would be kind of crazy to say that Izzy doesn't really think of that knockout at all. I'm sure it haunts him at night, and I'm sure every loss that somebody has, like you always think about it. Like somebody that's lost multiple times, I can tell people like you think about it. It's something that's always there when you're training in the gym. Like you never want to have that feeling again, so you do everything in your power to go out there and not experience that again. Um, but I think it could be a detrimental to Adesanya as well because it can make him very, very hesitant in the fight. I mean, it could cause a very boring fight to where it was like Romero, where he just sticks there and just jabs and kicks his leg the whole time. Or he could go out there and try to prove something, and next thing you know, he gets caught. You know what I mean? So I think it could be a good thing or a bad thing. It could be good because he could be so focused in that he kind of just picks him apart for 5 rounds or gets to finish himself. Uh, but again, if he goes out there with that whole revenge kind of thing, I think it might be a bad night for him.
What do you see playing out?
I mean, I don't think Pereira should win
Mhm.
because he's only got 3 fights in the UFC. It kind of looks bad on MMA and the whole, MMA being a whole. If a guy walks into the UFC with 3 fights in the UFC, 3 wins, fights for the title and beats the guy in the title fight. Now, don't get me wrong, the whole fight plays into Pereira's favor as well because he's a kickboxer. The Strickland fight played a hugely into him because Strickland's somebody who parries with their hands and just walks forward the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, so they kind of pretty much set this fight up the way they wanted it to be set up, I think. But again, I said earlier that I don't think Adesanya has what it takes to take him down and submit him and control him on the ground. I mean, he's maybe a purple belt on the ground, and I have no idea what Alex is. But training with Glover, I would assume that. I mean, I would like to assume that he has a better ground game than Israel does. But I think if it does go to the ground, it'll look like a blue belt grappling match that's just madness and not very well. But I think it'll just be strictly a kickboxing fight. And I think the longer it lasts, the more it plays in the Izzy's favor. I'll be there. So my brother and I and our wives, I think, are going. So it's going to be a good night, a long night.